You've done everything. Added llm.txt files to your website, published tons of best of articles. You even paid somebody to name drop your brand in every Reddit thread based on some LinkedIn AI SEO guru advice. And yet, your ChatGPT citation chart stays flat like a song stuck on one note. Well, it might be because you're ignoring SEO. Be honest. When was the last time you actually checked your keyword rankings or logged into Google Search Console? Now, I know that the AI SEO gurus want you to believe that SEO is dead, but the truth is, it's never been more alive. When you ask ChatGPT a question that its training data doesn't have an answer for, it searches the web. And in many cases, it's pulling from the top ranking results in Google or Bing. In fact, some researchers analyzed over 500 ChatGPT citations and found that 87% of them were found in the top ranking results in Bing. Not some special AI optimized content, just pages that were ranking. Which means that if you want your website ranking in ChatGPT, we need to go back to the boring SEO fundamentals that we all wish we could move away from. Some of these fundamentals include making sure that Google and Bing can crawl and index your website, creating quality content that matches search intent without cannibalization, and building topical authority relevant to your niche. Okay, so your SEO is solid, you're one of the smart folks who never lifted their foot off the gas. And yet, this ChatGPT thing isn't working. It could also be because you haven't invested in your brand. And I don't mean a logo refresh or a new brand color palette. Those things are cool. I mean, who wouldn't love a shiny new logo? What I'm talking about really is your brand street cred. Does anyone actually talk about you anywhere beyond your website? I'm talking on YouTube, in Reddit threads, in review platforms, basically anything else other than your website. Why does that matter? Well, because ChatGPT is like that one friend who needs to read all of the books to form an opinion first. It doesn't just trust you when you say you're cool. It needs everyone else on the block to say, hey, listen, this guy is cool. Now, building a brand is kind of like planting a tree. You start today, you put in the work, and you reap the benefits weeks, months, or years down the line. And if you look at many of the brands that are cited in your niche on ChatGPT, you'll see they've been doing the branding work for years. Take Ahrefs, for example. Ask ChatGPT to recommend an SEO tool, and Ahrefs comes up almost every single time. Why? It's not because they've gamed the AI algorithm. For years, they've been publishing original content, showing up on YouTube, and were mentioned in every SEO conversation worth having. They've become a reference point long before AI search existed, and now AI search is just reflecting that back. So the name of the game is to now start showing up everywhere. Say yes to podcasts and interviews. Publish content beyond your blog. Join communities and engage authentically with your audience. Keep showing up consistently, and ChatGPT will learn to trust and recommend your brand. Well, that felt a bit motivational, but let's move on to the third point, which I'm really excited about because it's a very small error with huge consequences. And the third error is AI can't read your content. AI can do a lot of things. It could write code, summarize your research, and even come up with an entire SEO strategy for you. But one thing it can't do is reliably read JavaScript. And that's a problem because a huge chunk of websites are written on JavaScript. See where I'm going? No? Okay, let me explain. So let's say you go to ChatGPT and ask, what are the most popular pet stores in Paris in 2026? ChatGPT says, oh, look, this person is looking for recent information, so I'm going to do a web search. So it triggers a web search and finds the pages that might have an answer to your query. It starts opening the pages one by one and tries to read the content. Then it comes across your website. It opens the content and finds nothing because your content only loads after JavaScript runs. Remember, you're waiting for ChatGPT to give you an answer. So it can't wait forever to load up your content. So in this case, the logical thing to do is to just skip your website. And that's why you might not get recommended, even when your content answers specifically the query that the user is typing. So how do you fix this? It gets a bit technical, but basically the gist of it is that you want your content to show up in the HTML immediately. There are a few ways to do that. The first thing you want to do is use server-side rendering so that the page loads the content immediately. Instead of sending the user to an empty page that JavaScript then fills in, the server does that work and sends the user the page with the content already there. Next, use static pages for things like landing pages and blog posts. For content that doesn't change often, like landing pages or blog posts, just pre-build the HTML files to serve them directly. Or lastly, you can use pre-rendering. This is a middle ground for JavaScript-heavy websites. The tool visits your website, waits for JavaScript to run, and then saves the content as HTML files that it serves directly to the crawlers. The user still sees the JS experience, but the bots see the HTML. If you don't want to get drawn into the technical side of things, just ask your SEO if your website can be read by ChatGPT and other LLMs. They'll probably figure out what that means. Now let's move on to another reason why ChatGPT might be ignoring your website. And that reason is you haven't built topical authority. And I don't mean publishing a lot of content. You could post every single day and still be invisible to ChatGPT. Volume isn't going to save you. What I'm talking about is whether your website owns a topic. Does ChatGPT associate your brand with a specific topic the same way it associates Ahrefs with SEO tools? Or does your website feel like it's talking about multiple different things and you can't really associate it with any one topic? Now again, why does this matter? Because ChatGPT doesn't think in pages, it thinks in patterns. And if the pattern it picks up from your website is that this website covers a lot of ground but doesn't go deep into any specific topic, it has no reason to pull your name into a conversation. You're just background noise. Think of it like this. Imagine you're at a party and somebody asks you for recommendations for the best Italian restaurant in town. You wouldn't point them to the person who's been to every single restaurant once. You'd point them to the person who's been eating Italian food 3 times a week for the last 5 years and knows the best place for carbonara in town. That's topical authority. So if you've been spreading yourself too thin, it's time to pick a lane. Choose 2 or 3 topics you can genuinely own. Go unreasonably deep. Build content that connects. Pillar pages, product pages, blog pages, guides, so on and so forth. And go really deep in those specific topics and connect everything together. Now, the final point as to why ChatGPT might still be ignoring your website is because you're chasing keywords too much. Now, I know what some of you are thinking. You've just told me to fix my SEO and focus on keyword rankings, and now you're telling me they're not enough. Fair? Let me explain. Keywords are your foundation. They tell you what people are searching for, and you absolutely need them to get found. But there's a difference between using keywords as a starting point and using them for your entire SEO strategy. And that difference is exactly what separates brands who get recommended in ChatGPT versus those who don't. See, we've been trained to think in keywords. Someone types best project management tool, you write a page called best project management tool. They land on it, job done. But ChatGPT isn't typing keywords into a search bar. It's trying to answer a question that's part of a much bigger conversation someone is having in their head. The conversation sometimes sounds like, I'm overwhelmed at work. I don't know how to keep up anymore. What tools are other people using? Is it complicated to set up? Is it cheap, expensive? And that's not one keyword. That's an entire journey. And if your content only shows up for one part of the journey, but has nothing to say about the rest of it, ChatGPT is probably going to ignore your content. So how you should be thinking about your content strategy is, can I answer all of the important questions that take a user from the what is this state to the how can I do this state to hopefully what tool should I use state? To do that, you need to find the exact prompts that users are typing into ChatGPT to find information about the problem you solve, which is exactly what I get to in this next video. If you want to see exactly how I found 100 prompts that users are typing into ChatGPT and Perplexity in under 1 hour, check out this next video.